Joshua, love the name, he hit me up and he said, why give SEC teams benefit of the doubt when the conference was way down this year from Coppell, Texas? Well, how do you know the conference was down this year, Joshua? Now, he can't speak, so I'm going to speak for him. He would probably say, well, I got the evidence. And I would say, what is your evidence? He would say, oh, their out-of-conference head-to-head record was terrible. And I would say, I don't care. What else do you have? And he would sit there in silence. And he would say, well, that's all I need. That's the most important stat. Why? Danny Cannell told me so. And I would say, dude, do you really want to use that logic? And even he would say, yeah, you're right. That's terrible logic. Let me do something better. And he would disagree with me. Like, we would be in an impasse. I don't care about your conference's head-to-head out-of-conference record, ever. When the SEC dominates in it, I don't care. Just like I don't care about your bowl record. When the SEC dominates in it, I don't care. This is not a pro or anti-SEC argument. It is basic logic. I don't care. Here's why I don't care. Because there has never been in the history of college football a system where I take the number one team in the SEC and the number one team in the ACC and number 4 versus number 4 and number 7 versus number 7 and have an equally seeded tournament where one conference faces another. And just down the board, 8 versus 8, 10 versus 10, 12 versus 12, that would be wonderful. And it would give me definitive conclusions and proof about one conference's superiority over another. But that's not what we do. We have just random matchups, and we have, therefore, a situation where, for all I know, my top 6 could play your bottom 6, and I'd go 6-0, and I could tout, if I wanted to be intellectually dishonest, my superiority over you as a conference. Well, in reality, it means nothing. It means nothing. It's just like, for example, I watched at the end of the year, if I wanted to be selective, I watched half of the ACC championship, Louisville, go get beat by Kentucky, middle-of-the-road SEC team. I watched your champion, Florida State, struggle mightily to beat Florida, a team that didn't even make a bowl game. Now, Josh, well, Florida State was playing with their backup quarterback. Yeah, so was Florida, dude. So if I wanted to be selective, I can make your conference sound like utter trash by saying that. I don't, because I don't care about it. Never have cared about it. It's not situational. I've never cared about it. The question, though, was about why the SEC should get benefit of the doubt. Because they're better than you. Because they're a better conference. That's why they should get benefit of the doubt. Like, who else is going to get benefit of the doubt? And this is not popular. A lot of you don't want to hear this. But just because you're not popular, or just because an argument is not popular, doesn't make it any less true. There is a conference out there that's been superior on the field for a long time. There is a conference that's producing more NFL players, that recruits at a higher level, that portals at a higher level. Like, all the discernible metrics out there that are front-forward-facing indications of success, the SEC dominates in. Why wouldn't I give them benefit of the doubt? A lot of people ask me that question. Why should the SEC get benefit of the doubt? And I ask, like, why shouldn't they? So we saw today, we saw Bama make it in, and I'm assuming that's what brought this on. And a lot of people said, well, there's Bama benefiting from SEC bias. And I don't know what you want me to say. Because if that is what happened, I don't have a problem with it. So I was born in Columbus, Georgia. Well, I was born in Columbus. I grew up in Harris County, which of course makes me blind and an SEC homer. And so I can't possibly be right on this. But I think I am. So I will tout the ACC to no end when they deserve credit. And at times this year, they did deserve credit. But if you think the evidence, or if your argument for Florida State being in over Alabama boiled down to the ACC had a better head-to-head conference record against the SEC, that is a garbage argument. Or if your evidence that Alabama shouldn't have been in was because they won the SEC, but it was a down year, and your evidence that the SEC being down is that, like, that's the best you can do, just your argument's not good enough. And it's not my fault. I could argue. You know, I'm fairly certain that I would flunk out of law school because it sounds boring. But I do think I have the God-given ability to be a good lawyer. And I guarantee you, I could make a very, very good argument for Florida State being in the playoff. Because I believe a lot of it, actually. I do kind of think they got jilted, although I also believe Bama should have been in, so I don't know what that really brings us to. But I don't like it doesn't always mean this isn't right. A lot of things can happen that are sound, that are right, that are just, that you don't like. There's this thing that happens mainly on the internet, but in some cases real life too, where if someone says something that you disagree with, it's clickbait or it's disingenuous. They're just trying to stir up controversy. It could just be that they think what they said and you disagree with it. That could be it. There's another thing that happens where if you get an outcome you don't like, and I call this the on-demanding of society. If you get an outcome you don't like, it has to be rigged. The fix had to be in. Someone has to be out to get you. In reality, in this case, I don't think it was any of those things. I just think that a committee full of people looked and said Bama belongs in over Florida State. That's what I think happened. So, SEC bias, if it was in the room, there's a reason for it to be in the room, is all I'll say. And you can't prove that that was what pulled Alabama over the finish line. I gave you my theory. I thought that the outcome you got today was kind of skewed and made to look radical. Oh, number 8 jumped all the way to number 4. Bama should never have been number 8, guys. They baked in their expectations. They never thought they were going to have this mess on their hands. They thought it was going to sort itself out just like I did. And I was wrong. And they were wrong. And all of a sudden they look and say, uh-oh, Florida State didn't lose, did they? Uh-oh, Washington won. So we can't boot the Pac-12 out. And, oh, Bama won. Oh, wow. That's where they were today. That's the long and short of it. Bama probably should have been 5 or 6, somewhere like that, to where them bumping up to number 4 didn't look quite as crazy. Texas probably should have been a little bit higher as well. But anyway, SEC bias is only going to grow stronger if by bias you mean blind benefit of the doubt sometimes being given to a conference that's just been utterly dominant in most of your lifetimes. If you believe that's what bias is, yeah, it's going to be there. It's not going anywhere. A lot of people have just assumed, well, if it's not going anywhere, I'm going to go join the SEC. Oh, hey, by the way, another theory. I think there's going to be a fair, healthy amount of Big Ten bias at the table in the near future. Something about having a ton of really good teams in your conference tends to do that. I don't know. So probably not going anywhere. If you're an anti-SEC or Big Ten bias kind of guy or girl, probably not going to be the sport for you for the foreseeable future. I do think this is the show for you, though.